And welcome to the Lord Selkirk West Kildonan Community Committee for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. My name is City Councillor Vivian Santos. I will be your chairperson for today's meeting. I have other members from City Council, Councillor Ross Eady from the Mynarski Board, Councillor Debbie Sharma from the Old Kildonan Board. We have members from the Winnipeg Public Service here, Semi Perez from our Planning, Property and Development, and our Senior Committee Clerk, Mr. Peter Clancy. I want to quickly acknowledge that we are meeting on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional homelands of the Red River Métis that we all have the privilege of living on. Also acknowledge our ancestral territory lands and that our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake Band number 40 and Treaty 3, together with our neighbors in Treaty 5 where hydroelectricity comes from. And if I can have someone move the minutes of the meeting held on June 2, 2026 to be taken as read and confirmed. Okay, moved by Councillor Eady. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's carried. We'll move on to delegations. I do require a suspension of the rules to have 2 new delegates to be added at the end, and those are, can you read them into the record, Peter?
Certainly, Mr. L. Dewitt, to be heard with respect to development conditions at 49 Higgins Avenue, which is report 1, and Alexander Mahul, to be heard with respect to plan approval 846 Burroughs Avenue, which is report 8. And we should also now have a suspension of rules to add.
Well, first of all, I'll so moved, and then we'll to accept the documents. Right? That's a separate.
Okay, moved by Councillor Eady to allow 2 additional delegates. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that's carried.
And then I'll move to suspend the rules to receive. These are related to Lloyd Johnson's 3 documents that he submitted.
First, we need to have a suspension of the rules to add the addendum items.
Right.
Okay, I'll move that, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Madam Chair.
Moved by Councillor Debbie to add addendum reports 5, 6, 7, and 8. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Does that include the new business item? I do have one motion of new business. I'd like to also add that, Madam Chair.
Okay,
with respect to the growing area of Northwest Winnipeg and civic facilities that are needed.
Okay, Councillor Debbie Sharma adds new business to the end of the addendum reports as item number 9. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's carried. All right, any other suspension of the rules?
Suspension of the rules for Lloyd
For
Johnson.
adding the documents for Little Mountain Park expropriation?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's not here in delegations.
Yes, Mr. Johnson is here in delegation.
Oh, he is.
Oh, yes, okay, so
Yes.
then let's do that
And then-
afterwards.
Yes. All right.
Okay, we'll do it afterwards. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Your delegations up first is Inspector Hall to be heard with respect to police matters. Morning.
Morning, councillors. I will go through the statistics for May. I'll advise that we had an extremely busy month and I expect it'll continue throughout the summer months. Total dispatch calls for service for the North District was 4,018, which is higher than average. We're usually in the mid 3,000s for calls. Calls taken by our community support unit to alleviate the call volumes was 652, which is high. Total divisional arrests for the month, 557, which again is extremely high. In fact, it's a 15% increase from the previous year. I will advise that 74% of the calls we attended were urgent or emergency events. And we had a total of 30 warrant arrests for the month of May. Moving on, community engagements. Although we were busy, we still spent over 50 hours in the community. Lots of these were related to school graduations, etc. Total traffic stops by our 2 traffic officers was 592. And traffic events, 101 events from the community. Total proactive time spent in the community is a total of 513 hours where officers are exiting the car and engaging people in the community. I will advise we had 624 tickets issued. And I'll finish off by saying we had 2 search warrants in the William White area during the month of May, and in both warrants, multiple firearms were seized and multiple people were arrested. People within that community and that neighborhood were quite happy. I received lots of positive feedback after the warrants. That is it in a nutshell for the month of May. Pending any questions from councillors.
Follow-up questions, Mr. Edie?
I just have a question. I appreciate the work, Inspector, that is very busy. Don't take it, not knocking the police service, but do we track how many situations that officers were unable to attend that went through 911?
Well, any 911 call that's entered, we go to regardless. All 911 calls are attended.
Oh, okay. I heard of one that wasn't, but although
Unless they downgraded the 911 call to a lower priority. But every single call that's entered into through our dispatch, we will attend.
all right. Anyway, it was around something that was in the news, but and I just was concerned, the owner of the business I know, and anyway, that's fine because it was addressed by officers later on. Well, do we? That's good. You removed all those weapons and things. Do you think that's going to be quite prevalent still throughout the year yet?
I fully expect the firearms issue to be a problem moving forward for multiple years. When I was in organized crime, I talked about this. It was just beginning about 4 or 5 years ago, and I said if we didn't get a handle on this, not only in Winnipeg but across Canada, we were going to be in trouble. And now we're in a situation where there's a lot of firearms on the street. Obviously, our concern in community support here is the firearms issue in the North End, so we're trying to address that with other issues, obviously. But do I think it'll be make a difference? Yeah, absolutely. I think the more firearms you can take off the street, the better. But it'll be something that we continue to deal with moving forward.
Thank you, Inspector, and I appreciate all the work done in Division 13, District 3. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
I think Councillor Sharma has a question.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Also appreciate the report we've heard today. It is a busy time, as the inspector indicated. Just wondering about the 4,018 dispatch calls. It's higher than last year, you mentioned, Inspector.
Yeah.
Do we know why that's the case, or what are the thoughts around that?
Not exactly sure right now. Obviously, weather plays a part of it. This time of the year is busier. I do think the fentanyl crisis is playing a part in it. Understanding, you'll see there's more encampments. Homelessness becomes an issue. Unhoused people are an issue. And unlike some other drugs that are sort of behind closed doors, the fentanyl use and that issue is on the street. So I just think the calls for service are likely higher due to that. As well, again, firearms play a role in it. Calls for service regarding firearms have gone up as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that. Also, you mentioned community engagement, still making time for the school graduations and other community events. Appreciate the time officers have spent in my ward. And we did last month, Councillor Reedy in your ward for community engagement. So do appreciate that time. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, our community support, we'll get them out as much as we can into the community. So no problem.
I do have one follow-up question. So my understanding, there was also another large arrest that was occurred in the, I believe it was in the Brooklands neighborhood. Is that part of your catchment?
Yes.
Okay, and then I think it was on Ross Avenue East, I believe.
Okay.
I can't remember, but all right, was that occurred this month? I don't think it was part of your report for May.
Right. Yeah, I think that was this month as well.
Okay, so you'll bring that forward for next month then?
Exactly.
Okay, then we can put it then.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions for the inspector? Say none? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you for coming out as usual.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. All right, we'll move on to the following persons to be heard with respect to plan approval 2777 McPhillips Street. We have, I believe, two people, Brendan Salico and Carolina Herrera. Are you guys going to come together or do you guys want to come separately?
Yeah.
separately?
Yes.
Okay, so Carolina, you wanna go ahead first, and then Brendan? Sounds good. Go ahead at the head of the table. You will have 5 minutes to present. Do you have something for IT? Okay, I'll let you get set up.
Good morning. My name is Carolina Herrera. I'm a planner with Landmark Planning and Design, and I would like to thank the committee and the administration for the opportunity to present this morning about our proposed plan approval for CRU 3 at Polaris Place. Wyland Real Estate is the developer of the overall commercial site, and they are working with Anderson Vision Care Center, who will be the future tenant of this building. They are a local business, and they are looking to relocate to this growing area of the city. Neimark Architect is the designer for the building, and we're Landmark Planning and Design. We're leading the planning and approval process. Just a bit of site context. The subject site is located at the northeast corner of North Point Boulevard and McPhillips Street. It's approximately 6.75 acres, the whole commercial site. There is already 2 buildings have been constructed, CRU 1 and CRU 2, and I believe CRU 5 is already under construction. So this plan approval is specifically for CRU 3. Just gonna skip these couple slides and go straight to the proposed changes. This is just an overall view of the previously approved plan on the left. Here we can see CRU 3 highlighted at the bottom left corner, and the new proposed site plan. They're very similar. It's just reshaping the CRU 3 building, and now it will be aligned along North Point Boulevard instead along the internal private road. So here, jumping into the more specific changes, we are proposing to increase the size of CRU 3 from approximately 11,400 square feet to 13,200 square feet to better accommodate a vision care center. This will be the only tenant in the building. We will reorient the building so that it fronts onto McPhillips Street rather than the internal private road. This creates a stronger street presence along McPhillips, helps to screen the parking area from public view, and improves the overall parking and layout and site design. Also, just to note, the architectural design remains consistent with what was previously approved and with the rest of the buildings in this commercial plaza. I also want to note this is the site plan we submitted. There was a very small change after some follow-up discussions with the administration. We just added a reference slide at the end. It's just extending this sidewalk along the front of the building. So it is extended to the west, and it wraps around the corner of the building, so it connects to CRU 4 as well, to the already approved pedestrian crossing in that side of the building. We believe it will be very beneficial for the development. So with this, there is also a small minor change to the landscape plan just to accommodate this pedestrian path. And just going back now to the elevations. In general, like this is a 1-story building, the whole building. The average height is between 21 feet and 24 feet. But in the back corner, and we can see it better in this rendering, in the back corner, it goes up to 32 feet to accommodate an indoor basketball court, which is part of the program for this Vision Care Center. Proposed landscape, I already touched on that with the revised version. It's all, it complies with all the requirements for landscaping, and we created some buffering between the interior parking area and the interior private road. We can see some trees and shrubs, as well as along the pedestrian path along North Point Boulevard. We also incorporated seating area, mostly for staff and visitors, here in the back of the building. And there is also a connection to a public seating area that is located between CRU 3 and CRU 4. And we're also proposing 10 bike racks here in front of the building and next to the pedestrian connections. Here, these are just some supporting renderings. So you can see the proposed materials are very similar to what's already being built in the rest of the plaza. Some red metallic panels, which are just some accents. We have glass, we have some ephes panels and some dark gray brickwood in the main axis, also in the corners of the building. Here is this was the view from the interior parking area, and it shows the main axis. This is a view from North Point Boulevard. And just some aerial views. I know I'm running out of time, just trying to wrap up here. Just some aerial views to better show you the scale of the building.
Okay. Thank you. Do you want to just finish up in your last slide?
Yeah,
I'll give you one more minute. Yeah. Okay. Moved by Councillor Sharma. All those in favor? Aye. Go ahead.
Thank you. So in summary, we feel that this is a good proposal for the Polaris Commercial Plaza and for the neighborhood, as it follows and aligns objectives and policies of the city's planning documents. It's compatible with the area and the other buildings in the development. It optimizes the site's internal pedestrian network. It improves the visual character of the overall site, and it also increases the range of services in the neighborhood, as this is a vision care center that would provide medical services. And with this, I conclude my presentation. Okay, thank you.
Right. Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Edie.
I think I might have missed it. So there's a restaurant at the corner of the building. Is there any, will there, that kind of restaurant, will it have like a patio and will it be using some sort of concrete wall?
Oh, yes, sorry, maybe I was speaking too fast. It's not a restaurant, it is a basketball court.
That's the back. I thought I heard you say something about a restaurant.
No, maybe it sounded like a food court, but no restaurant, it's just a vision center with basketball court.
Oh, food court. Oh,
Yeah, sorry about that.
yeah. Food court.
I'm sure, yeah, I appreciate the presentation today, thank you. So it's a vision center that's coming here, and the square footage once again is
13,1,200 square feet.
1,200 square feet, and it's a bit larger than what we proposed for this site before, but that's fine, yeah. Okay, very good. Do you want to point out where the clear glass is? I know we can see it obviously in this rendering. There'll be quite a bit of glass on the front facade.
Yes, this is the main facade. So there is glass along this like reception area, which is this main entrance. There is some glass in the corner we can see here to the left. Basically, almost all the corners have a lot of light and glass where the program allows for it, except for the basketball court, which has it at the top. If we see the other view, there is also some glass.
Glass there.
Yes.
And all of those would be the therapy rooms, perhaps.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah, this and the design is consistent with what we already see in this plaza, so it's good to have the same look and feel. The continuity is there.
Yes.
Now, as you mentioned, I actually raised the issue of the pedestrian connection. Recently, the administration and Ms. Jerez had some conversations. So in the front of the building, there's a bit of a gap in terms of connecting to the unit just west of it, right? Because if someone was going to walk there, they have to go all the way around the building, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So you're wanting to address that and show the pedestrian connection continuing as it should at the front of the building. Now, you have 8 feet to the east of the front door currently, right?
Yes.
So what you're proposing, it looks like 8 feet again, also to the west.
Yes, it
Okay.
is continuous. Yeah.
And it's 8 feet in front of building 4?
I do not have the exact measurement with me right now, but I can see just looking at the proportion, if it's not the exact same, it's very similar. It's wider than the sidewalks on the sides of the building compared to the
So it
front.
might not be 8 feet, it might be less. And what about around the other buildings? Do you know offhand?
I know that all of them have a wider sidewalk in the front.
Right.
That's consistent.
Good.
I'm just not sure because this one is 8 feet 6 inches.
Right.
I'm not sure if the other ones were eight,
Yeah,
like specifically, but they're all wider than the rest of the sidewalks.
So I appreciate you putting in that connection, and the landscaping plan will still have to be adjusted, correct?
We were able to get it ready for the meeting. It's a little bit pixelated here, but we adjusted it so the pedestrian connection keeps going to CRU4. And now the shrubs that we had along the building were relocated just a little bit to the front, so we're not losing.
Good. All right, very good. My intention is maybe to possibly lay it over to the next meeting. So you can, because I want to know, it'll give you more time to tell me what's in front of CRU4. I want to know the width there, because you may not need 8 feet. The primary area is right in front of the doors where you have the parking, and the accessible parking is there, so the 8 foot would be important there. But it'll give you a little bit more time to iron that out, right? Because I don't really want to just add text clauses today, Madam Chair. I want to have things finalized properly in a drawing. So that's what I'm thinking, but there's more time to look through it as the day goes on here. We'll be here for a while. There's a bit of a recess as well. So is there any issue with that?
Well, my understanding is that the client would really like to move forward to be able to start construction in the summer season, because otherwise they have to push everything. So it will make a big difference for them to have the vision center going. I wonder, subject to however you feel, because there is a commitment to have the connection there, right? The pedestrian connection. If it's a matter of refining, if we make it a little bit narrower in the corner later, if that could be added like as like an admin.
Yeah, and I appreciate the commitment to do it. I also want to see the ongoing commitment to accessibility. Because at this committee, if we watch the last 3 meetings, we've had conversations around accessibility. So it's sort of disappointing that this isn't thought of either before we get to this stage. So that I have an issue with that a little bit. I do actually have a big issue with that, because it's been the last 3 meetings at this committee, Madam Chair, that we keep talking about accessibility. And I'm not an urban planner, but we try to look at these things with a magnifying glass, because all members of society need to be moving around easily through sites like this. So let me look at it closely. Again, I just want to make sure that you're doing the best effort for your client as well, because it's 8 feet currently. You may not need that much because it's just connecting to the other side. I've seen it often where it narrows. So that'll give you an opportunity to come back with precisely what's needed. And maybe it is 8 feet. I just don't know what it is right now. If you don't know what building 4 is, you're going to check on that. Okay, thank you. No further questions at this time.
All right, we'll move on to our next delegate.
I don't know, is the planner, do you have any comment right now, or is it later during our?
I could add, just for clarification, you had asked, I just looked it up, and the pathway in front of CRU4 is the same width, it's 8 foot 6 inches.
It is 8 foot. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to Brendan Salaco.
How's it going?
Good morning.
Morning. Brendan Salco with Landmark Planning and Design. And nothing to add. I was just going to say, and thanks to the planner for bringing it up. I did just check the old plans and it is identical. So 8 foot 6 inches on CRU4, and would just echo Carolina. Ideally, would hope to get approval today so that we could, or that the proponent could move into construction this summer for the Vision Care Center. I know they are hoping to move in and hopefully open this year. But yeah, I think nothing further. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Brendan. I appreciate that additional information.
Thanks so much.
And the green space at the back, the patio area, is that primarily for staff for the Vision Center?
Yeah, that's right. So the one directly behind the building is more for staff and potentially clients of the Vision Care Center. And then the one directly to the west of that, which was approved as part of CRU4, that one, since it's a bit closer to North Point Boulevard, more of the public facing seating area.
Well, it's nice to have that seating area for staff. Good, very good. Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right, saying none, we'll move on to our next delegate, Jackie Wilkie, to be heard with respect to park plan approval, development agreement, which is item number 4. Jackie's here in person. Morning, good morning all. Have a presentation as well? Okay, sure. Get there in a second. And for some reason, it did not copy my presentation onto my disk. I do not know why. I apologize, everyone. I was having some computer issues this morning and I don't know why the wrong items were connected to my. So all I have is, would we be able to pull up the plans that were submitted? I believe we do have the submission here online.
Yeah, we have both the submitted plans with the stamps,
Please,
and we also have your submission as well.
thank you. I don't, this morning my computer decided that it should go insane and I had to restart it twice, so I don't know what's going on with it. So we're here today for a plan approval on the park between Templeton and Court Avenue. We don't have a name for this park yet either, which we need to establish. The plan has been in the works since approximately 2022. We've done reviews with parks as well as with water and waste to ensure that the grading works for the area. The plan is to have a pathway going through a park that around the pond. The pond from normal water to high water level is naturalized planting as per water and waste. We have sitting areas close to the entrances, the entrance off of New Mercy Lane. And then the pathway connecting up to a main sitting area in the center of the development that will have a covered shade structure. And another sitting area up on top of the hill. We're planning on doing grading for this park that has 2 low hills for some tobogganing with a central open green space for non-structured play, but to give enough room to kick a ball around, hit some baseball or bat or cricket balls or whatever is wanted in this area. And then a playground space. We have not designed the playground space yet because we would like to do that in consultation with the counselor and the community to make sure that we're providing what is needed for the community. And the other items on this are additional trees throughout the area. And benches at the sitting area in the center as well as at the playground. And 2 nodes as we're coming out. There's an AT pathway that connects through the park from the new east-west road, connecting over to DeGrave that then connects over to the hydro corridor and the pathway that I believe is planned for going up there that connects through to the one that's been done through the community already. And I believe that's where we are right now for this particular park. Any other questions? Councillor Edie, I believe this is.
How many acres did you say that was?
The park, how many acres of the park?
Yeah.
The park is just about an acre in size.
Yeah.
It's not a giant park, it's.
No, I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah, the open green space is about 30 meters by 50 meters.
Jackie, thank you for your presentation. In the report, it does list some things you hope to put in the park, but do you want to continue to have some dialogue and just fine tune the elements in there?
We can definitely do
The
that, yeah,
shade structure is
Yes.
a little bit small as it's proposed currently.
yes, and we have, we've received funds or budgeting for a larger one, that would come out of the cash and lieu dedication, so we can look at where we can allocate those funds, for that amount and balance it off between the play structure, trees, benches, and that shade structure as well.
Right, right. Okay. The timing of construction, I know there's sod and leveling this year, hopefully. Can you just take us through that?
Sure. What we would really like to have today is a plan approval for the sod and the pathways, not necessarily trees and amenities. We can come back for that again. What we'd like to have is so that the grading and the sod and the pathways can all start getting constructed, because we need to get pricing on those items this month so that they can get started construction in August. And that way we can have sod in before September 15th. Otherwise, we're too late in the year for approvals of that sod for this year to start warranty on the sod for the next spring. It just becomes an escalating issue as we lose time throughout the summer. So if we could get approval on the overall form of the park, not necessarily the amenities within the park, not even the trees, we can come back for trees, amenities, playground size, playground design, the shelter, all of those items can come at another time. If we can get moving on the park itself, construction of the park itself, it would be very helpful.
Mhm.
If you don't have any issues with the actual form of the park.
Right, and that was gonna be my question. Is any of the form gonna change potentially?
The only thing that I can see changing, because we've done our grading plan with approval from Water and Waste already. I don't believe the form of the park will change, the grading. I can see an expansion of the playground area, but there's room to expand that without adjusting the grading within that area.
A lot of places that the path can go, it is gonna go where it does. right?
It's pretty much set going along, because we can't go farther towards the pond and we can't go closer to the backyards.
And the approval gives you an opportunity to get that priced out and lined up.
Correct.
Yeah, and you're doing that in September, and next year will be the installation, hopefully, of the playground.
That's the idea.
We likely will be having another meeting in the coming month. That will work for you also.
It could, if we can have some assurance that we aren't gonna have like a major change in sod and pathways, we can start getting our pricing at the same time.
Yeah.
That way we aren't losing time.
Exactly. And just a procedural question, is it possible to give just approval for in part today? Mr. Clerk, can we
Well,
check on that?
I would defer to the public service, but I suppose if there is some way that we can break it up into parts 1 and 2 or A and B, that could conceivably be done.
I don't have a problem with that. There's only 2 areas that we're really talking about, and the amenities are something that's added on top of the ground surface, so it's, I think that would work.
It's really only one place the amenities can really go.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay, thank you. But again, if you know, we can work in a number of different ways, yeah.
Yes, so we
Just
have,
as long as you have an understanding.
as long as we have an understanding that we can start getting that pricing, so that we aren't hamstrung at the end of the
We can
season.
only put the paths in a certain place, Jackie. Yeah, it's all.
The grading is the grading,
Yes,
this one,
thank
yeah.
you. And I appreciate the conversations that were had with my office last week,
Mhm.
just with respect to the
Yeah, and
the
we're,
shade structure. It's a little bit small, just with what folks are used to in the Northwest, because there's a lot of use daily
Mhm.
in these spaces. So to have just one picnic bench under it doesn't quite work.
Right.
When there's about 40 people that come out
yeah,
on a regular basis.
yeah, and we should have conversations on what the best amenities are underneath that structure as well for
Yeah,
the broadest group of
Absolutely.
people.
So I
Yeah,
look forward to that
Yes,
conversation.
that would be a
We've done
wonderful-
great park planning in Aurora. We recently did that over the last few years. We worked together. I think
Yes.
we just had the grand opening last year.
and we have another one coming.
Yes,
So, yeah,
yes, 2 parks, yeah, so good. Okay, good. We'll continue our conversations. Jackie, I understand your timelines.
thank you.
Okay. And if you can be in touch with my office once again, and we'll work through the details, and we'll also bring in our experts from parks, Sean and Persia.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our next delegate. We have Mr. Al Duick. to be heard with respect to item number 1, development conditions of 49 Higgins Avenue.
I believe we had Mr. Lloyd Johnson first.
Oh, bro,
Sure.
you've been waiting longer than I have.
Thank you so much, Council, for having me on this soggy day.
Right, so Lloyd, you're here to be speaking in support of Little Mountain Park appropriation. Do you have a presentation as well?
I do.
Okay, we'll have our tech guy come and help you.
Thank you, that'd be wonderful. Find it here.
And now would be the appropriate time to move that motion for the submissions that was received after the deadline.
Yeah, I'll move to add to the record the 3 documents submitted by Mr. Johnson.
Okay, Councillor Eden moves suspension of the rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's carried. Okay, you have 5 minutes and
Thank
introduce
you so
yourself
much
and
for
go right
having me.
ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Eady, for putting me on the agenda. Good morning, councillors. I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak this morning. The matter I wish to speak to you about is proposed Centerport Highway connection to the future Chief Peguis Trail and its potential effects on our most important asset, our green spaces. I spoke to you a while ago of my plan to grow Little Mountain Park. I am coming to you again with a concern over the future development of the Chief Peguis Trail and the future Centerport connection. Recently, I attended the WSP presentation under the direction of Brett Hamilton. The stakeholder presentation was a collection of storyboard proposals, 3 of which focused on the future connection to the Centerport Highway and the proposed Chief Peguis Trail and Highway 6 intersections. The Centerport Highway storyboards presented Klemke Road as the primary road collector. We have been assured in writing by the Centerport administration that there's no properties would be expropriated in the future Centerport development. We were assured in writing that their commitment to preserving and enhancing the green spaces of the region, including Little Mountain Park, Little Mountain Sportsplex, and Players Golf Course. We believe that rather than reduce the access to the precious conservancy and recreation spaces and disrupt citizens' residents, there is a better scheme for needed highway interchange. What I'm offering is a better, more cost-effective, heavy traffic flow and less disruptive to the homeowners and local businesses, employers with expropriation. This is a better solution than the one presented while still preserving our most valuable green space. 1,336 voting members of the public have signed my petition to safeguard the area. We have an opportunity to look to the future with building something better, not just convenient. These proposals require the expropriation of all the West Side Klemke Road residential properties. The loss and well-used Little Mountain Park parking lot on the Klemke Road to build a multi-lane highway over what is now a 2-lane gravel road. The loss of the Klemke access to the Little Mountain Sportsplex, a major interchange to the east side of the current highway overpass to connect the future project. We need to move the newly constructed water plant servicing the RM of Headingley, Rosser, and Centerport at enormous expense to create enough room for any proposed Klemke interchange designs. These designs contradict on what has been told by Centerport in the city of Winnipeg. Using the infrastructure available, the intersection at Sturgeon Road and Centerport Highway could be modified to accommodate large truck traffic. It is northbound, and it could be encompass Highway 221 and feeder routes and direct traffic that follow the old Sturgeon Road footprint. A new crossing favorable for travel east and west to the Chief Peguis Trail connection can be easily devised, and Highway 6 would intersect at its apex. Using the Sturgeon Road bypass, the Greenbelt constituted by Little Mountain Park, Players Golf Course, and the Sportsplex, and conserves precious ecosystems for wildlife, flora, and fauna, and citizens. This route is more economical in the long run and more efficient to heavy traffic and fuel consumption. As concerned citizens, we feel these issues need to be addressed before green space is lost to progress. We need to look to future generations. Once these ecosystems and green preserves are lost, they are lost forever. So the presentation I have, this is what the WSP presented. Scroll through here.
WSP, help me out. What's that?
Sorry?
WSP is the consulting company?
Yes, this is the presentation they made
Yeah,
at.
I got it, okay.
So. Here, so this is the area we're concerned with. This is what it looks like now. This is highway now, this is Sturgeon Road, Route 90, and the future, or the Centerport Highway as it stands right now. So this is the different proposals, but all three of them have Centerport Highway running down Klimpke. And this is what our concern is that you have all this traffic going down beside the park. It'll remove all these homes, cut off access to all the businesses. So this is what we're trying to address now before it becomes too late. So this is why I'm bringing it to you now. Let's talk about it now before you see a bulldozer happening. So this is all the different, this is Summit Road. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Are you able to finish up in one more minute?
Well, I'm finished now then. This
You're
is
finished
just.
now? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's questions.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I see Councillor Edie has a question. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So the first thing, and I'm pretty sure you understand this, the city of Winnipeg is not Rosser,
No,
nor is it Centerport, right? So what you're presenting to us, this idea, the city's not building that road about by Little Mountain Park, right? It's
Correct.
Centerport in conjunction with the Rosser plan, I guess, for the area. So what you're showing here, you're saying all the different iterations that the consultant showed. Is it actually going to end up that they'll expropriate land from the city of Winnipeg's Little Mountain Park? Or,
this is while
like, how do you know? So, I mean, yes, in that consultation, I don't know if any city of Winnipeg people were out there looking in the interests of our park. But I mean, you're suggesting ideas to the committee, and this will be going to property and development.
right.
Who deals with land expropriations for us or from us. So anyway, I'm not really understanding. Like, was there anybody from the city of Winnipeg at those consultations?
I was not made aware of anybody who was there at all. But what I'm trying to address is that what the potential could be by looking at what they're designing.
You got 1,300 and whatever Winnipeg voters, but we as councillors have no, like, the city of Winnipeg has no ability really to tell Centerport what to do. And I just, what I want to know is Centerport communicating to us, right? And that could be found out through P&B about any potential expropriation of Little Mountain Park.
They have indicated that the park itself will be protected, but
They said it would be protected.
they would, but we'd be losing our access to the Klumpke parking lot. That'll be cut off.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, the issue of the parking lot. So the road you're talking about, is that on the west side of Little Mountain Park, or is it the one on the north side?
Then it's the west side of Little Mountain Park. Klumpke Road is a gravel road, basically a lane and a half
Yeah.
gravel road that travels
And
north
there's a
south.
parking lot down in the southwest corner of Little Mountain Park, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
There's also parking up by the Sportsplex area, I think.
all those properties would be, they lose all their access if that road is going
What
through.
do you mean they would lose their access? There's driveways that get created.
But they won't have any access from the highway, but they, that would be cut.
Well, they're,
Lloyd, has your herd communicated with the province or the
No.
RM?
Yes, we have stacks of letters I've been writing to
What
everybody.
have you heard back?
Very little. I've gotten provincial support for my petition from Cindy Lamrou's office. She has read it to the Manitoba legislature about protecting our areas and offering this redirection as a better, more economic solution to this, what they're proposing.
How much, as you know, at a Little Mountain Park will be affected by this new road?
Well, it depends on their direction they want. If they want to put that 100-yard guesstimate of highway through there. So imagine the width of Centerport Highway traveling down that gravel road, how much area it would take.
Is there another option your group has proposed?
Well, this is my option is, if I could, to use the existing Sturgeon intersection. That's already there. There's already lights. It's already a developed area. Using an existing footprint to take it and roughly following the approximate old Sturgeon Road footprint. And then coming across at the future between Mullard and Jefferson. Which makes that a heck of a lot more sense because Highway 6 is going to cut right through the Prairie Dog. And then connect this way. So if you're traveling, you'd have to go down and then back around.
taking out the Prairie Dog?
Yep, that'll
Have you
be,
connected with the CEO in Rosser?
I have,
Larry.
Larry, yep.
He's quite a good
Yep,
person.
I've been in a lot of communications with him. Had a lot of I've tried to reach out to Amy Collier, the CEO of Centerport, Lisa Naylor, all the powers that be. I've tried to say, maybe this is a better idea.
And you haven't heard anything from.
Very little in way of returns.
And what is the timeline of this road getting confirmed? Do you know?
I guess that all depends on when Chief Pegos will be developed. They're not gonna move until that, sorry?
It's tied in with that?
Yes,
Yeah.
but I'm saying now is the time to talk. Not when, if you see a bulldozer, it is too late. That decision's made. This idea would protect people's homes, people's businesses, and like I said, the green space areas.
You know, like the park itself, you're saying you lose the parking lot, but there can be a drive off of the highway going into Little Mountain Park. And there can be access for other private properties that are off the highway. You drive down many of our highways in this province. There's some kind of facility, there's a local road that takes you
Which would require even more.
off the highway, it takes you over into whatever private property is required, right?
But that would require more space to be taken for that access road, would it not?
Well, not their actual road, it would be. We need to make sure we have parking, you build it, it's like a local improvement. So the owner of the land pays for it.
We still have the Farmers Road parking lot, but that's a very a smaller parking lot than the Clemty parking lot.
And just pointing out that
Sorry?
those kind of things happen. If it was happening in the city, there are ways to get off of the Chief Pettis Trail.
Very limited access off the Chief
Yeah,
Pettis.
that's true, but
And you're entering and exiting a major highway.
so, yeah, that's always a problem.
So I can't see how.
Happens at Bagot on Highway number 1, but somehow people get off there and into that little small village. Anyway, so I'm just gonna, this is gonna go to P&D. And they're gonna be scratching their heads, well, we can't do anything about road alignments or anything like that. My intention was, I want to know if they actually So you're saying that they've already communicated to the city, we're not touching Little Mountain Park's land,
Right, that is their intention.
not to touch it.
Right, but what I'm saying is that, you know, the future, what does the future look like? So let's talk
Well,
about
I
it now.
understand that, and that's the municipality of Rossett. Right?
Yeah.
So,
But this is what I want to bring to you, just so you see that.
Okay, are there any other questions?
anyway, I might suggest if you appear at P and D, and this report goes there, you
Sure. Sounds like a plan.
might want to ask if the city is, because we have nobody to ask here who would know if the city is providing what they would like to see if this road gets built. Okay, because we have no input as councilors, but the public service, because it's owned by the city of Winnipeg. So I'm hoping that they can establish if there's been discussion, that sort of thing, so. Because last time we heard this at Park Community Services now, but it was told me nobody knew anything from the city. So, anyway, I'll leave it at that. I appreciate your concerns though, absolutely. Little Mountain Park has been dear to me since the early 70s early 70s.
Okay, I want to move us along because we're kind of leading into the public hearing portion, and we still have one more delegate. And are there any other questions for our current delegate? I'm saying none. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you for your
so much for all your
presentation. It has been added to the public record, and we'll move on to the standing committee of PP&D, which is, what's the date? Peter, you're able to show up. Let them know.
It is next week. That will be Friday, July the 3rd.
Okay, Friday, July the 3rd, this will go to that committee. All right, we'll move on to our next delegate, Peter.
All right, our next delegate is Mr. Al Dewick, who is here to speak to report one.
Good morning, sir. Welcome. Thank you for coming. I'll just get our tech guy to fix up the
Get a Zoom
meeting.
photo.
Yes. Okay, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
I'm not really entirely sure why I'm here, but I think the understanding is that the land that the city agreed to sell 2 pieces of land, one to Border and one to us. That agreement was made, I think, about 5 years ago. We were at that point in time each given 3 years to put up a building to make sense out of that decision by the city. Duxton did so promptly, put up a 10,000 square foot facility. Border, in the meantime, I gather, created something in St. Boniface attached to the family business and then chose to sell the building and to leave the area. It was my understanding that the terms of the sale were such that the city would either take the land back or some other arrangement would be made. In this particular case, we approached the city again to say that we would dearly appreciate the opportunity to add to that particular property that we have, as we are now again planning to ideally add another 15,000 square feet with that addition, which would honor the original agreement. And I was led to believe that it would be, make sense for us to make that proposal here. For any background, Duxton is a family business that was launched at 10 Higgins 26 years ago. We have been building a business from scratch. It's a no name, no brand, nothing from scratch. That has grown subsequently, but we acquired 45 Higgins about 15 years ago. So that business from 0 people has grown to about 120 people. Contrary to a lot of businesses that are deeply in debt, we are extraordinarily conservatively structured and ship most of our stuff out of province, creating valuable jobs in the core area of the city. The majority of our people actually live in the downtown areas. They use buses, spend money downtown. And that process of building the business has been done without government investment. We have never asked for any assistance with any of that. It is entirely a self-financed program. So, I guess basically our statement would be that if we can proceed with that, we will continue to build upon that base in an area that I think desperately needs for area employment. And furthermore, that that addition would allow us to move inventory indoors, which would, create a more attractive environment, if you will. And last but not least, obviously, the additional investment in the area creates more tax revenue for the city in many, many different ways. Never mind some more stability for an area that is going through some challenges right now. That's really about all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. So I think the motion's here because there were some concerns about, I guess, deadlines, like you had mentioned.
Yeah.
The sale of the land, there was supposed to be, I guess, there was some time limits, 3 years, and I think that had expired.
Correct.
And they're just looking to extend it for another 3 years. So I guess in your case, you had mentioned you're looking to expand. What's your time frame on expansion? Are you looking within the next 3 years, or is
We're working on the design right now. It would have gone up actually this year if it wasn't for the tariff Trump nonsense. But it created a certain level of uncertainty in what that environment would do. But we are currently again launching into a program, and we have a firm that we worked with last year that is putting the details together. So all things equal, we would hope to launch that in spring of next year, not 3 years from now.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Saying, are there any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Sharma.
Go ahead, Councillor Ely, go.
Councillor Ely, go ahead.
When I first heard this, this is still like a partnership with another company of similar but different markets.
No, well, so just as for a clear picture of what happened, the chunk of land between the border building and us, which was 45 versus I don't know what their number was city land that was undeveloped, sat there with grass, and we played soccer on it until finally we pitched the city to say, could we somehow jointly take advantage of valuable land for our purposes? And they then agreed to split it 50-50. Border bought one half and we bought one half. But now that they're moving out of there, selling the building, they have no further interest in it. I think the terms of the original agreement was that they were not able to just sell it on the open market. So consequently, we feel very fortunate that from our point of view, we would have ideally taken it in the first place. And this does allow us to create additional jobs and clarity to our business there, but it's a family-owned business, period.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam
Appreciate your
Chair.
work.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add, I'm very familiar with this project and the work Mr. Alduick and Dexton has been doing in the community. And it's precisely all about that. It's about creating jobs and it's good for the economy. This extension of time makes perfect sense to me. I want to thank you for bringing it forward. Can
I make one more comment in the general picture, and I won't dive into detail, but that part of Higgins is currently in the last 6 months gone through drastic change. And as far as I understand the world around us, this entirely falls upon our federal government changing legislation that would not allow the criminals to take advantage of people in the community by distributing
Yeah,
drugs.
Mr. Dewar, we're not going to talk about this at this time. This has to do with
Thank you.
we do appreciate your comments and your leadership and your willingness to invest in the area.
Yeah.
Under current circumstances with the tariffs and some of the, I understand the social ills, but we
We're very
really do
grateful.
appreciate it.
We're very grateful. Winnipeg is a great place to do
Thank you.
business in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dewar. Seeing the hour, if we could, do we have one more delegate?
one more
I only did 2 delegates. You didn't mention the third one.
Yeah, Alex Mahul to be heard
Oh.
with respect to the plan approval at 846 Burroughs Avenue.
Do we need a suspension of the rules to add Alex?
We'll,
We did? Okay, let's move on then.
all right, Alex, we'll get you to start your video, unmute your mic, and we'll put 5 minutes on the clock for you. Alex, are you there?
Oh, there he is. You need to unmute Alex before you start.
Okay,
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead,
okay.
Alex.
Well, I was supposed just to answer your questions regarding our fence at St. John Cantius Church. It was approved to have a fence at the Magnus side of 9 feet, but we brought it down to 7 feet. And then the front of the church, which is 4 feet high fence, we are going to make it instead of galvanized, we're going to make it a black coated chain fence as well as the back. So that was the request of Madame Jerez from the district planner to make the the rear fence at Magnus black coated chain link fence, as well as the front at the Boros as black chain link fence. We agreed to that, so I said, okay, we will do that, and that's why I'm here to ask for your approval.
Great. Okay, so you worked with the area planner or the senior planner on
Yes.
design, okay?
Yeah.
And so the back on Magnus Avenue, or the front, that's also considered the front, is how tall again? Remind me?
It was actually approved by the variance committee, zoning city. It was approved to be 9 feet high, but we made it down to 7 feet high because of the two is too high, and Madam Jerez said it's too high. So okay, we'll bring it down to 7 foot. At the same time, she requested it to be from galvanized to black chain link fence. So okay, we'll do that, no problem.
Okay, all right. Are you making any changes to the fence that's in between the hall and the church, or is that fence remaining the same?
That was that between the hall and the church. No, we eliminated that the fence that was supposed to be built. We eliminated that because of safety reasons.
Okay, right, so that's remaining. I know there's a fence there, but that's remaining?
Between the hall and the church,
Yes.
along Boros.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's still there. That's been there for since before. We're not changing that. It's been there for. We could change it if you want to a black chain link fence.
No,
To be more attractive, if you want to, we'll do that. No problem.
no, it's okay. I just noted on your plans here, like everything else was highlighted, but then that particular one is not highlighted.
Because it's already existing and it was not part of our request.
I see. Okay, excellent. All right, sounds good. Any other questions, Councillor Edie? No other questions? Okay, we do not have any other questions. Thank you for coming out and making the time.
Oh yeah, thank you very much, madam.
All right,
Thank you also.
that's all of our delegations we have. Okay, seeing the hour, we'll open up. I do need a quick break, but let's open up the public hearing proceeding and then we'll break for 5 minutes. All right. Moving into our hearing. We have a couple of hearings, and do I need to start all over again, like the acknowledgements and stuff? I
Yep.
do, eh? Okay, so I call the meeting to order for June 23rd, 2026. It is 10:48. We are starting our public hearing, and we are meeting on Treaty 1 territory, traditional homelands of the Red River Métis that we all have the privilege of living on. Also acknowledge our ancestral territorial lands, and that our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake Band number 40 in Treaty 3, and acknowledge our neighbors in Treaty 5 where our hydroelectricity comes from. My name is City Councilor Vivian Santos. I will be your chairperson for the hearing. I'm also have other city councilors, Councilor Ross Edie and Councilor Debbie Sharma that are joining us. We also have members from the Winnipeg Public Service, Semi Jerez, who's the planner, together with some of our other staff from PPND. And then we also have Peter Prinzu, our senior committee clerk. So if our clerk can move ahead, or can we break now?
We'll go through it and then right before we call the first item, we can stop there.
Okay,
In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. Please note that when your name is called, it is your opportunity to speak. However, you're not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the City Clerk's Department website. Please note that all public hearings are recorded and will be part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department.
Okay, we'll just do a quick 5-minute break. We'll be back here at 10:55 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back. It's 11:06. We are moving on to our hearing portion, our first report for zoning agreement amendment. Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Item 1 is a zoning agreement amendment at 465 Egas Street under file ZAA 2 of 2026. Please note, communications were received in support of this matter that was been distributed to members of the committee. The process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application, those registered in opposition, and those registered for information. The applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. Speakers will be permitted 5 minutes for their presentations. All participants in the Zoom meeting have been muted and will only be permitted to speak when called upon. So at this time, I'll hand it over to the planner for an overview on the matter.
Yes, please.
Okay, good morning, councilors. Before us is an application at 465 Egas Street in order to amend a zoning agreement registered on title. The subject site is located at the northeast corner of Egas Street and Oak Point Highway in the Point Douglas ward. The site is 44,598 square feet in area and is accessed from 2 approaches off Egas Street. The site is located within a designated employment lands area under Complete Communities 2.0 and is currently zoned M1 Manufacturing Light. The applicant is proposing to expand an existing auto repair and service, sales and rental forklifts use with accessory outside storage. A zoning agreement from 1977 registered on title limits the types of uses that are allowed on the property. The applicant has applied to amend clause 2 in order to allow for these proposed uses. The applicant is seeking to construct a building addition to this auto repair, sales and rental forklifts use. The proposed building will primarily be used for servicing with 2 overhead doors for equipment access. Following the amendment to clause 2 as part of this zoning agreement amendment application, a subdivision application will be submitted to reconfigure lot lines to allow the building addition to be located on the same property as the existing warehouse. A variance application will also be submitted for construction of the building addition. The Public Service recommends that the existing zoning agreement be amended with clause 2 to be deleted in its entirety. The proposed uses are compatible with the general industrial area and surrounding land uses and are appropriately buffered from residential uses to the north. That's it for me, but happy to take any questions.
Sure. Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Edie.
So this is right at the intersection.
Yes. Of Egas and Oak Point Highway.
Right.
Hi, Shu.
Is it still called Oak Point Highway at that point, or is it King Edward, or,
It's,
Or-
yeah, it's still Oak Point Highway. So
yeah, okay. Until it passes, so, right, okay. So I believe in this area, there was application, some numbers years ago, pre-COVID, so somewhere around 2017, I think. What kind of water supply is, like, are they using wells? Is there an expectation that, the one I'm thinking of, they were using wells and stuff, but they were originally being asked to pay for the extension of a water main north of Inkster. You guys comes out what, just up, how far is it from Inkster?
that I can find out, but they are connected to the city water and sewer system.
They already are, right?
Yeah, well,
Okay, I just
One.
just wanted to so that's not complicating any matters in terms of expanding this operation, okay?
No.
And you were saying, so they turn on to eGuess and then customers and employees and everybody's using eGuess to get in and out of that lot. How big is this lot? Is it like?
It's 44,000 square feet.
Oh,
Yeah. So fairly large lot.
that's approximately an acre. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
It's also about 900 meters from external.
oh, 900 meters? Oh, okay, that's one, okay.
So
Even more in the city than the other one, because the other one was closer to extracting. That's really all the questions I have.
I guess just for clarity, the list had shown, you know, what was a permitted use, I guess, back in the day. I guess things have obviously changed and there is definitely different uses now. Do you know how long those uses have been in place? The current uses, how
current
long
use?
they've been in place for?
that's a good question. But I don't know offhand. I mean, I would assume prior to 2006 because that was like the existing zoning bylaw. So they would have had, you know, rights before that. The applicant can probably speak more to that though.
And then, so now what we're doing is we're updating the uses to allow for what they're being currently used and to expand their current business.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And the auto forklifts, all those uses that will be on the site are permitted under the lots M1 zoning. So we are basically just removing the restrictive uses under that zoning agreement from the 70s to allow basically the site to function as a standard M1 lot.
Okay, so before they were restrictive and now we're. So what would then, if we're moving the restrictions, what would then be the permitted uses under an M1 without these restrictions? Like, could they go even more? I guess I'm just wanting to understand what could be allowed in the future, say in 10 years, if they were to sell their property. I'm just playing devil's advocate. What would then be allowed in an M1 if they didn't have these restrictions here?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to give an example of a use, I could pull up the use table and, you know, compare it to M1. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
You have another use in mind as an example?
M1 is light industrial,
industrial,
so it's not going to involve anything with chemicals or anything like that.
That's what I was wondering. Not enough.
Yeah, so like, I guess some, light manufacturing is permitted, but like heavy manufacturing is only permitted in M3. Mining and extraction, again, it's only M3. A grain elevator is conditional only in M2. So there's some, you know, more heavy uses that would not be permitted in M1.
So not like a truck stop but like a restaurant could go there and it's a lot of their manufacturing has to be done indoors, can't be done outdoors.
That's correct, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a towing and storage facility is conditional in M1, permitted in M2 and M3, so that would be sort of by discretion to the committee. So it would be, a truck use would have to come to committee, basically.
They could do, if I may, sorry, freight or truck yard is a permitted use in M1. There's a range of things. There are some auto-oriented uses, but largely would use specific standards limiting the size or scope. But certainly very less, there's not as much nuisance in M1.
And then they're not required to do any buffering or anything like that. I see there is some buffering to the residential. Looks like there's some buildings already that So they wouldn't be required to have any buffers or.
Yeah, if I'm assuming some of the reasons why this zoning agreement was originally in place was based on, you know, there would have been a different lot layout originally, but yes, there is another property to the north that has also industrial uses, and then there is I believe it's a 25 or 30-foot grass buffer between there and the single family homes, so there's some good buffering.
Good. Actually, one last question. Their entrance into their property is off of Egas, not off of Oak Point, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so the one off of Oak Point is a different business?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, we're having them reconfigure the lot lines as part of the subdivision. Right now, the lot line sort of goes diagonally
Yeah.
through the two properties. We're gonna have it aligned with the fence, so it more aligns with the uses that are currently in place there.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see the fences here. Okay, yeah. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, at this time, we can call up the applicant, Mr. Adam Markowitz. If you'd like to make a presentation, we can put 5 minutes on the clock for you.
Hello, everybody.
Morning.
Yeah, just short and quick, Adam Markowitz from Crane Steel Structures, acting on behalf of Jeff Turco and Great West Maintenance. We are the assigned contractor that is going to be doing the upcoming building expansion. So I'm just here on behalf of him. Like was spoken about before, we're all in favor of this. The Great West Maintenance has been in the community since 1993 on that existing property. As per the plans and was stated, property lines are going to be moved, etc. After this, the Oak Point entrance would be closed. The main entrance would be off of the Egas Street. And yeah, we're proposing to do just another just shy of 6,000 square foot addition to an already existing building there, workshop and storage for the equipment, forklift, etc. There's no additional traffic flows that would be occurring, no additional staffing. It's basically just Great West Maintenance is a striving building business, and they just need to expand to get their capabilities. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
I do have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
So the property lines, have they acquired some small pieces of land, like?
So the current owner or the entity of Great West Maintenance owns the property to the south as well, where the current restaurant is being rented out. The landlords are the Great West Maintenance, and they own that property right to the south. So that's why they are able to, like was stated, we're going to move basically instead of going through the angle, we're going to adjust the property lines. This is approved to move forward.
Great. It's just a moving, okay. Good. Same one. Good.
And you'd mentioned that you're closing off entrance off of Oak Point Highway?
So I believe it already is closed, but if you look on Google Maps, it's still existing there, but there is the one entrance.
To the restaurant?
Yeah, it's kind of shifting south of where it currently is, just because the property line would kind of come right through there, and it would be two entrances for the Great West and then nothing for that southern restaurant business there.
Okay.
I don't know if there was a site plan, but we did include one for, might not be available.
I don't see the site plan unless I'm missing it on the. Oh, I do see it here, yeah. Sorry, my apologies.
That would be
I do see it,
provided,
yes,
yeah.
I do see it now, okay. Didn't scroll far down enough.
Who is the owner, Adam? It's GW.
Great West Maintenance, yes.
It's good.
What is the timeline for construction?
As soon as possible kind of thing. We've already got, we're drawings, design, engineering's all been completed. We're just waiting on these processes for me to actually apply to the city of Winnipeg for a building permit kind of thing. So we have a couple hurdles to go through first, but we're hoping for summer, fall this year kind of thing.
Right, I don't have any other questions. Seeing none, okay, we're gonna move on.
All right, I have no one else in the Zoom meeting. There's no one here in the gallery. So the committee can go ahead and ask the public service any additional questions.
Any questions of the administration? If not, I can entertain motions. Counselor Edie, if you could take the chair.
Yes, I will take the chair. Councillor Santos,
I'll move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Nobody's opposed, that is carried.
That the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nobody's opposed, carried.
I move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred and forwarded to the standing policy on property and development.
We can send
Or
this-
can we send it to via priority?
Yes.
Okay, let's try that again. I'll move that the recommendation of Winnipeg Public Service be concurred and and forwarded to the Executive Policy Committee via the priority rezoning process. And my supporting reasons is, so really appreciate, a local business that is interested in expanding. Happy to hear that they're making some slight amendments to obviously the uses and wanting to stay within, Point Douglas. It's always appreciated when businesses want to do that and provide, local economy, employees and so very simple and very appreciate the applicant coming out and speaking to that.
Anything to add, Councillor Schroeder? No. All right, then, I will call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Nobody is opposed, that is carried.
Move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nobody's opposed, that is carried.
I'll take the chair back.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted, and all persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council.
Okay, thank you. I will move a quick recess, and then we'll move on to items 2 and 3 in 2 to 3 minutes. All right, thank you. Good morning and welcome back to the public hearing for the Lord Selkirk Westfield Building Community for June 23rd, 2026. We're moving on to our next hearing. Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Item 2 is a rezoning at 780 McPhillip Street under file DAZ 200 of 2026 in accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw. This is a combined hearing, and the following item will also be heard at the same time, namely, item 3 is a variance at 780 McPhillip Street under file DAB 110541/2026D. Please note that communications in support and in opposition to this matter have been received and has been distributed to all members of the committee. So at this time, we'll hand it over to our planner for an overview on the matter.
Yes, please.
Thank you. The applicant has requested to rezone the subject site from R1M residential single family medium to C1 to convert an existing dwelling to a commercial office use. This site is on the west side of McPhillip Street, directly south of Alfred Avenue. And it's a corner lot in the Shaughnessy Park neighborhood of the Point Douglas ward. The site is 2,837 square feet in area. It's currently occupied by a 2-story dwelling built in 2018, which is 1,834 square feet in area. And the site is accessed by a concrete rear lane. The site condition includes, with the existing dwelling, a 20.5-foot front yard setback, a north corner side yard of 2 feet, and an interior south side yard of 4 feet, as well as a rear yard of 24.6 feet, which complies with residential uses. However, there are variances related to that because the commercial requirements are slightly different. So in addition to reduced setbacks for the building, there's also a request for parking reduction and for insufficient buffering and landscaping. The front yard, going back to the existing condition, is currently hardscaped with river rock or gravel and a concrete pathway. The rear yard is entirely paved with 3 unmarked spaces taking access from the public lane. The applicant is proposing to provide street edge landscaping with 1 tree and 5 shrubs along McPhillip Street, as well as 3 trees and 18 shrubs along Alfred Avenue. 2 parking spaces are marked on the updated site plan, including one accessible space and a garbage enclosure. A commercial garbage enclosure is provided in the southeast corner of the site abutting the public lane. The applicant is proposing to provide bicycle parking at the rear of the site as well, between the building and garbage enclosure. Floor plans show offices and meeting rooms on the main floor, second floor, and in the basement, as well as washrooms, storage rooms, and a kitchenette. There are no exterior alterations or construction to the building as part of the application. For both reports, the Public Services recommended approval. We've recommended a couple of conditions, including a zoning agreement requiring that plans be submitted to the Director of Planning, Property and Development for review prior to the issuance of building permits on the site. That would allow us to review final plans, including landscaping for any missing details before any development or occupancy is provided on site. And the Public Service also requires that the developer legally open 4.5 feet of the rear lane along the full length of the site. That's for any future lane widening.
Garbage enclosure, talk to me about the garbage enclosure. So is it going to be fenced? Does it look like? Looks like it's fenced off of the rear lane. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and that's replacing one of the parking stalls?
Yes, as mentioned, it was kind of unmarked parking before, so this is clearly delineating the location of the enclosure as well as the other two stalls.
And then the parking in the back, I'm assuming, is for the people who are going to be going to the offices here, right? And then were they required to provide some kind of parking management plan because the street is that side street, sorry, Alfred is quite busy actually with respect to parking. So they're only are they requiring a variance for the number of parking stalls from what's the original?
Five parking spaces for the commercial office use. If it was to be a different use, for example, a cafe or restaurant, they would require additional parking, would have to come back for variance again, if supported.
But right now for offices, it's
5 stalls, they're proposing two. So we recommended support given that it's the existing condition of the site.
Do we know what kind of business is gonna be operated there or tenant?
No, not the tenant, just that it would be an office use.
Are they changing? So with respect to the landscaping, I believe the plan approvals you had mentioned would go back to the director, that there is an opportunity to bring this back to community committee, is that correct?
Yes, that's the will of the committee.
Okay. But they're adding more landscape, it seems like.
They are. It's not specific. Typically, we require more detailed landscape legend specifying the size and species of plantings.
Okay. Right. Any other questions? Saying none, okay, we'll move on to the delegates.
All right. We'll call up the applicant, Suzanne Mariani. Hi, Suzanne. We'll put 5 minutes on the clock if you want to go ahead and start your video and unmute your mic.
Oh, hang on. I think I lost you there. Whoops.
Oh, we're still here. We can hear you loud.
Okay. I don't know what happened. I lost you. I clicked unmute. There I am. Hello. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. My name is Suzanne Mariani. I'm with Powell Property Group. I'm the applicant representing the client who purchased the building at 780 McPhillips when it was originally in going back into the letter that I had sent off to all of you just regarding the reason my client was sort of misled. She thought that, or her and her husband thought that they were purchasing a commercial building to begin with. Whoever had purchased it prior had taken the home and kept it as an R1, turned it into more of a commercial property, and I think it might have been a demo. It was sold privately. It's hard for me to find the information on it. And so when the listing agent at the time who represented the vendor The vendor had already built this building now, and he kept it as an R1, and apparently, the vendor also was using it as office use for himself, or it was leasing it out to another tenant. I think it was an immigrant company or something, I'm not sure. And so, my client later ended up, reaching out to me, as a realtor to lease the space. And so I was the one who educated her on, it's not possible to lease a space, it's still an R1. And so now we're trying to turn the clock for the vendors who now own the property so that they can put office space in there. There is one thing that I would just like to mention though, that I did notice, from all the details, which was part of the presentation I had, you nailed everything. The only thing is, I don't think there was a request for 2 parking spots. I think it was 3. So I'm not sure if the city had narrowed it down to 2. Or that was our only option, because there's plenty of room there for the 3. And there's lots of room in the back lane there as well as it pulls out of the driveway. So I'm just a little concerned about that. So she does want to lease it out for office use. I don't think they need a lot of parking. And so that's sort of where we're at right now, just to change it from an R1 to a C1. So she's able to make use of the building.
Is that it? Or you do have 2 more minutes if you still wanted to add more comments.
Well, just regarding the shrubs that you spoke about, I think the draft person we had to do it, or architect, we had asked them, we were trying to fulfill your requirements on landscaping. And so we don't have the exact details, but we certainly will comply to whatever we need to do. We'd like the possible minimal. The building looks great, nice and clean in the front yard. It's a fairly narrow building. It fits very well in the location that it's in. It suits it well. But it's not an issue to put in any kind of landscaping. We would like to use minimal. We were trying to follow your guidelines, so we'd be happy to comply with whatever the requirements are. As I mentioned, it's nicer to be kept clean, just fresh grass, maybe a few shrubs. If it requires a small tree, that's fine. We'll keep everything low, if that helps.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, go back to the, I guess the parking scenario.
Yes.
I do have the site plans that was provided by Accurate Drafting.
Yes.
And what had noted originally was 3 parking stalls. However, one of the parking stalls has a garbage enclosure and a bike parking. And then one is parking and then 1 regular parking. So there's only 2 parking stalls that are being provided. Could you clarify on the intent of the?
We would prefer 3. Yes, I missed that. Because 3 cars fit very easily there.
Okay, is that including the garbage enclosure and the bike path?
The garbage enclosure could be moved. I'm just trying to, I'm off guard now, trying to think of where we could place it. We could go back to the drawing board to move that and see if we can reconfigure it. If we could keep the 3 and include the enclosure of that would help a lot. I'm not sure if we can. There is room on the side. We can also add extra concrete. If that's the case, just for I'm sure the side yards, there's room there that we may be able to put a small pad. If that's what's required to have the 3rd, we would prefer to work with you on having a 3rd.
Yeah, I'm not an engineer or a
right. Okay.
How
fair enough.
That would fit. I guess for time frame, what is the time frame for if you guys are needing to provide new site plans and drawings? I mean, we could lay this over to the next meeting so that yourself, the drafter and the public service can work together on the parking situation and the garbage enclosure, because right now, yeah.
I just want to confirm that it's only two parking space at this point, is that correct?
Correct. One
Okay,
accessible and one,
sorry, I didn't hear you. One where?
one accessible and one regular parking. And then in one of the parking stalls, it's replaced with a garbage enclosure and bike parking.
Yeah. Yeah, we would like to move the garbage enclosure if we could and the biking. So we can fit the 3 cars.
And then what, I'm not too sure if you're aware, but there were some community members that did send in some opposition to the rezoning of the property.
Okay, I was not aware. Okay.
Okay, so a few of their, I'll just very high level
Yes.
provide you that some of the complaints were, failure to maintain the yard and the exterior, lack of snow clearing, repeated unlawful and unauthorized activities on the premises, operating a business without a license, involving enforcement agencies, including police, RCMP, and Canadian Border Services, multiple vehicles frequently parking in the back lane, vehicles approaching onto sidewalks and blocking the sidewalk and the community mailbox.
I'm sorry, what are they blocking it for? I have to talk to the vendor about this. Okay, I was not aware.
Yeah.
Blocking, what did you mention about blocking the sidewalk?
Yeah, so vehicles encroaching onto sidewalks and blocking access to the community mailbox. Combination of illegal and unregulated operations and poor management, property management. And then increased traffic, neighborhood, disruption of neighborhood stability. And then it is unclear, there is a clear and unified position that this property should remain residential.
Mm-hmm.
And then, given these repeated issues outlined, respectfully request that the city of Winnipeg deny. So I believe we have about, sorry, Peter, how many had sent in their?
So there, just so I understand, there are three that oppose, but it's a long list of reasons. Okay, I've tried to make a list of the most of them. Is there any chance of getting an email or a list of the reasons for opposition? I would like to speak to my vendor about this, just regarding all of these issues that I was not aware of, and I would like to clean that up with the vendor.
Okay, so what we can do is, the submissions were handed in, maybe, Peter, how can we get copies of these, written submissions to?
I can contact the applicant outside of the public hearing process.
Yeah, it's like a 39-page document of several letters of opposition and
That's
several.
okay. Mm-hmm.
And that-
I'd like to review them. Yes, thank you.
Sure. And then, has the owner of the property had any kind of public consultations or gone door to door and knocked on the doors of residences on?
As far as I know, they have followed all of the requirements. I have checked in with them. And they're driving by even the signs that were meant to put up. They've done the appropriate requirements. They drive by every day to make sure that they're still standing and there's no issue. I think somebody had taken it off and did some vandalization or something for one of them, but it was just within the day and they fixed it right away. So it might occur during the night. And so as far as I know, I've spoken to the vendor to see if they were aware of any opposition. Has anyone, talked to them? But they're never at the building themselves very often. So I have to discuss these concerns with them and try to put us back on track, so we can move forward appropriately and go through this whole list and do a checklist and have them all comply with it.
Yeah, so I think that would be really great if the owner,
Yeah.
if I'm looking at here, is Parul Pabi.
Pardon me?
I see the owner is listed here on the document. If the owner could reach out to the residences nearby and.
Yes. When you say reach out, can you give me more details? Knock on X amount of doors or?
Yeah, usually it's always suggested that, if there's gonna be some changes to the property, such as significant like this rezoning and a variance, would be good if the property owner could, reach out to the residences that live on McPhillips, maybe, 5 or 6 houses.
Yes, I was gonna say between 5 and 6. When I discuss this with the vendor, I wanna make sure that I give them at least some kind of boundary line as to a limitation, at least if they're going to do something, a minimum at least of 5. So they would, right? Okay.
And then the houses that are going down Alfred Avenue, you'll see that there's several houses. If you could reach out to maybe 5 or 6 houses that go down on Alfred on both sides.
That's on the other side, right?
So the intersection is McPhillips and Alfred. So
Yeah, oh, right.
Alfred,
Sorry. Yes, it is.
you go Alfred down west, down Alfred.
Yeah, west on Alfred, yeah.
There's all these residential homes. So
Yeah.
say maybe 5 or 6 houses down west on the even side, and then 5 or 6 houses down on the odd side, odd numbers.
Yeah.
And reach out to those residents and just kind of, speak to them, let them know what the plans are. And I to lay this over. When's our next meeting, Peter?
Our next meeting is the 3rd of September.
So as long as
We have a lot of cleaning up to do. Okay, 3rd of September, okay.
we can hear this matter back in September.
Okay, but in the interim, just so I understand the ramifications of what's required at my end, for the vendor in terms of submission to make those changes that we spoke about earlier at the beginning of the meeting, what is required of me? Risa, who do I contact, and do I resubmit a new draft of the new requirements we would like to move forward, or do we deal with the checklist that you're sending me first? Because it looks like we have a lot to do within that time frame.
Yeah, not really new requirements. It's just a matter of figuring out the parking scenario.
Okay,
Your client is requesting 3 parking stalls.
right.
Which is different, then you'll need to work with the planner on how that's going to.
Sure. Okay.
You guys can work. So work with Semi, the planner, on the parking scenarios.
Perfect.
And,
She's great. She's
yeah.
great.
And then if the client can also work with the area, the residences, so that when you come forward in September, there's no opposition.
Yeah, and what I'll do is, if worse comes to worse, I might do this as well, and since I'm the applicant, it shouldn't be a problem, correct?
Okay.
Okay, I might do this for her, and that way I can make note of how the meetings went, where we went, who we spoke to, etc.
Sounds great.
So just to clarify, the submissions that have been made in opposition will remain in the record,
Yes,
so they won't go away between now and September.
okay. Okay.
Yes.
That's fine, they'll remain on the record. Right, I think that's it.
Is there anything else you think I would require to know to do?
No, I think this is fine. Councillor Sharma, you had any questions for the delegate?
Not at this time.
Not at this time? Okay, no, I think we're good.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Right.
So is it the will of the committee to adjourn this hearing to the meeting of the Lord Selkirk West Kildonan Community Committee located at 510 Main Street in the City Hall building, scheduled for September the 3rd?
I'll
Correct.
move that motion.
For both the rezoning and variance.
Yes,
Okay.
and we're keeping public representations open.
Open, yes, okay. All those in favor to adjourn this matter to September?
Aye.
I have one more question, if I may. The signs that we have up, do they get taken down or do they stay and remain?
I believe they remain.
They remain, yeah, because it's still a public hearing.
Correct. Okay.
Will remain up.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. All right, We moved that.
So
Okay,
that
we are
was,
done.
yes, and then we'll just move the same for
The variance.
variance as
So
well.
moved. Okay, moved by Counselor Sharma. All those in favor? Aye. And that is carried. All right, we are done the hearings portion. And seeing the hour, it is noon. We will break until 1:30 and we'll come back here and deal with the reports. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Lord Selkirk West Kildonan Community Committee, Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. We are now back into our regular reports. Up first, we will go to item number 1, development conditions of 49 Higgins Avenue. I believe, do we want a summary from the administration? It's actually the administration. I actually written the motion for me, but I don't think we have anybody here to speak to it. Do we, Semi? No, not for, okay. Councillor Edie, if you could just take the chair for me for 1 second.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. We've heard from the delegate in respect to what his plans are for expanding his business in and around this neighborhood, especially at 49 Higgins Avenue. Very supportive of all the work that Duxton Windows has done to continue to invest in South Point Douglas, hiring peoples, and want to thank him again for his contributions. And so I'm happy to support the extension of an additional 3 years for allowing of a total of 6 years to the date of sale for development to occur. So the motion is there and I think it's gonna go to PP&D. Is that correct, Peter?
Yeah, it needs to proceed up to council, but it will go through BPND.
PP&D. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. That's it. Those are all the comments I have, Councillor Edie.
Okay, so all those in favor
I'm,
will be opposed. That is carried.
yep, chair back. Moving on to item number 2, plan approval 2777 McPhillip Street, Building C, CRU 3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had delegation present on this particular file. And there are some tweaks to the pedestrian connectivity, as we heard this morning. They did make some quick revisions, but we want to see the fulsome plan and have a chance to look at it properly. It's good to connect all buildings on a site like this so that everyone can move freely and safely in between the various amenities that are provided here. So with that, I'd like to move layover for up to 30 days. And the intention is to bring it back at the next meeting. We may hold that before September, as you know. We do have some items that probably have to come back before that time frame. So moving it for up to 30 days.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's carried.
Just want to ask the clerk, that's in order, and we've got it captured. There's a special meeting, we'll certainly bring it back beforehand.
Yes.
Okay, item number 3, proposed opening of a portion of part lot 71 and 72, block 4 plan 877, west of 1991 Notre Dame Avenue, file DAO 2/2026. Anybody here to speak to the proposed street opening? That's you? Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon,
administration.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mrs. Chairwoman, members of council. I'm Danielle Villamore, the real property officer with the Planning, Property and Development Branch. The public service is proceeding with an application to legally open the city-owned lands, which is west of 1991 Notre Dame Avenue as Notre Dame Avenue. The proposed opening is shown on miscellaneous plan 14278/4 and the aerial diagram attached to the report. The proposed street opening will make room for a future sidewalk relocation. The public service recommends approval of the proposed opening, but we need council's approval before we can legally open the land.
Okay. Go ahead. Any questions? No questions? Please, Councillor Edie.
I'll move the recommendation of the public service to open this so they can do the sidewalk.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's carried unanimously. Moving on to item number 4, park plan approval. development agreements 3/23 and 4/23, Waterside Templeton Park. Mr. Clerk, I just noted that the ward is incorrect. It's showing as Minarski Ward. If that could be amended before it moves up to any other committees.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had Jackie Wilkie from McGowan Russell in delegation today with respect to this item. And we are going to work collaboratively to adjust some of the play equipment that's envisioned for this space and also the shade structure to make sure the dimensions are large enough to accommodate the needs of area residents. So there's a few things we need to work on. We were hoping to maybe break out the report in front of us and approve the pathways and sod today, but that's not possible. The clerks looked into it. We cannot break into clauses of plan approval report. So with that, I'd like to move layover for up to 30 days and deal with it at the next meeting that this committee will have.
Okay, sounds good. All those in favor? Aye, and that's carried unanimously. Moving on to our addendums, we have a community incentive grant for the North End Women's Center.
Yes, Madam Chairperson, so this is the North End Women's Center has received grants and are moving to expand their operation for women who are having various struggles that we're trying to deal with. It will involve housing and some programming in the main floor. The construction's to happen on Selkirk Avenue, mid-block between Aikens and Salter. Anyway, they are still short money to a certain degree, so we're continuing to raise some money, at least so the public area more on the main floor, as well as access up and down through. So their application here, this is the community fund capital dollars, which we were all allocated $115,000. So I'm not using it under PrEP. The North End Women's Center, this is a center that's doing really good things, trying to get us out of a lot of situations that women end up in regarding some of the things we even heard from Inspector Hall today. The drug crisis is quite clearly there, and there needs to be various supports to help women and their kids get to a better place in life where they don't have the struggles they would otherwise. So it's going on to council. I think it goes to community services next, and then the PPC council. As it's 100, well, it's over 50% of the cost for, this is for the elevator, so.
Just to confirm, you mentioned community fund. It actually states here, community incentive grant program. Those are two.
Yeah, because your capital or your community fund capital grant can be applied to PrEP, which is an internal thing that doesn't require a CAIGP. So the PrEP is the park rehabilitation and enhancement program, which was allocated some funds, but so this was meant to be flexible, the community fund capital dollars. Otherwise, it would have been put directly into our community incentive grant.
Right.
So
So
so whichever category you decide to put the money into, it has to fit within that program. So that's the application they had to use, CIGP. Okay. This is for the North End Women's Center. There's another one that's directly related to CIGP. So I think you can even apply 115,000, well, LBR. Anyway, it's those two programs would be the only thing that one would allocate the 115,000 capital fund. This is not the $200,000 community fund, right?
Okay.
So that's where the dollars are coming from, but it's still, because it's under the CIGP, it has to meet those criteria. This does not meet the criteria. And therefore we need a council decision to support women's organization that's doing really good things for the North End. So
Very happy to support this, Councillor Edie. I know the great work that the North End Women's Centre does in both of our communities, mostly in yours, but so in mine as well.
that's right.
Happy to support your motion.
Their definition of the North End is different.
So we're going against the Winnipeg Public Services recommendation and moving it on to council. So what is, how do they, because right now it says a recommendation to deny it. So you
Yeah, they're
need to
saying,
amend it.
oh, sorry, I'm moving it to, sorry, that's right. I'm moving to, sorry,
Is overturned.
I'm moving to approve
Yes,
this grant of $115,000. And that's why it's here, because council has to waive it. The city councilor can do it.
is that enough information, Peter? Can we move
Yes.
on? Okay, all those in favor of Councillor Edie's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
It's carried. Moving on to the next community incentive grant program for Marymount. It's another CIGP in the amount of $240,000.
And that one says deny too, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
So colleagues, you'll recall the big debate we had when Marymount School Youth Services Organization wanted to delist the Leacock Estate building and rip it down because they're building a new facility, which they are. They just changed their plans, but so it was denied. It still sits on the heritage list. We have a not-for-profit group that are, again, trying to keep youth out of ending up in lice where they could be in encampments, they could be out on the street, they could be whatever, and they're working with the youth. So the Leacock Estate right now, it's running, there's high school diploma program for youth who are turned 18, 19, whatever, and they never, so they're working at getting their high school diploma so they can move on to other post-secondary options. And they have a proposal for some programming for youth on the second and third floors. But the roof is ready to, well, it leaks and stuff, and this building is a very old building, a very old house. It's actually a mansion, right? Very old mansion. And the roof needs to be fixed. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to run youth programming on the second and third floors. And they have a source of operating dollars to help youth in those programs, but they need the roof fixed. Now, we have heritage grants. So what's happened is I want to save this historical building, but it's quite clear, for a mansion like this to keep it, it'd be millions of dollars. So they are getting I can't remember if there's a heritage grant outside of downtown that you can get. So they're pretty well confirmed. It's not actually signed off yet, but they're going to get $20,000 from there, city money. There is a provincial grant that they're highly likely to get in October for $25,000. But the $25,000 is the only external from city dollars. They can't get, because they're not a museum, they can't get a big grant to renovate the building through the province, nor through the feds, because they have museum programs, right? So in order to keep it and make sure that it continues, and make sure that other programming can be done in there. There's this $240,000 application for Menardsky Ward CIGP money. I think my balance is about 269. So this will take up a big chunk of it. Again, I'm recommending approval. That's my motion. Because we need to get this house fixed, and actually they need to get the roof fixed in order to run programming for our youth that we're trying to keep out of the difficult lives that we see people living out there on the street. So that's my motion.
Okay, excellent. Really appreciate the background and the information.
And sorry, Counselor, how much did you want to recommend for approval?
The full 240,000.
Okay, I don't think you have sufficient CIGP money to fund both the previous one and this one out of Menardsky.
No, again, if you read the CIGP report, it doesn't show $115,000 coming in for the community fund capital grant. See, not even the administration doesn't even, I wish this would have been explained.
Yeah, we'll recess for 5 minutes to get this sorted out.
All right.
I just have to go.
Yeah. Good afternoon, welcome back. Just need to do some clarification and admin work. So Councillor Edie, you still need to finish up the.
I'd like to rescind the.
No, we'll do item number 6. We need to finish that first.
Oh, okay.
So your amendment to approve the $240,000 to be used in the Community Incentive Grant Program.
Moving that council approve the $240,000 grant to Marymount Inc. I think it's called. I'm not sure.
Yep.
For a CIGP grant that does not meet criteria.
Correct.
But a very essential organization, a very essential historical building that needs to have its roof repaired. Otherwise, it'll end up just falling apart. Anyway.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's carried unanimously. We will go back to item number.
Yeah, I'd like to rescind report 5. I need to add a little more clarity so as it goes up to I believe it'll go to community services enough. So to make it clear, anyway. So on the rescind, call the question.
Okay, all those in favor to rescind
Yeah.
Councillor Edie's motion? Aye,
Okay,
and that's carried.
and then I'd
We have
like,
a new motion.
I don't know where, Mr. Clerk, where, so I'm gonna move that we approve this VIGP application by utilizing the community fund capital dollars of $115,000.
Okay,
That sound right?
yes. And that will be a recommendation up to council to waive the appropriate criterias and to approve the 115,000. Okay, understood?
Okay. Thanks for that clarity. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that's carried. Moving on to item number 7, Little Mountain Park expropriation. Councillor Edie?
Sorry, which is this one?
Little Mountain Park expropriation, we heard from.
Oh, yeah,
Do you
okay,
want to
so-
talk about some road on your report?
Yeah,
Are you wanting to receive it as information or move it on to BB&D?
I have to, Mr. Johnson, I appreciate the zeal and everything. But he was discussing the plans and consultations coming from Rosser or Centerport, I guess is paying for that. Which they have their own secondary plans and, development plans and road plans outside, because we just own this land. This is not part of Winnipeg, the Little Mountain Park. So I'm trying to move this. I don't know how to word it, but the reality is is Mr. Johnson says there won't be any expropriation. But he's talking about not having access to Little Mountain Park because there's a highway nearby. As we all know, Inkster is basically a highway. As you go out there, there's a private driveway that takes you into, say, the golf course that he was talking about, players. The parking lot is not necessarily gone. The city will have to pay to have a proper driveway associated with that highway. So I'm kind of confused, Madam Chair, as to what to do, but I would like to confirm though. And so my recommendation would be to send it property and development for them to come back and I don't think it needs to come back here, but bring a report forward to the P&D that talks about has the city been contacted about any potential expropriation of said Little Mountain Park, and whether or not they would probably have to talk to Parks and Open Spaces, but I want to also know, has Parks and Open Spaces attended any of these consultations to ensure that Little Mountain Park can stay viable as it is? That's what I'd like to hear back from the public service. So,
You want to amend it slightly?
yeah, whichever way you want. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Peter was catching all of that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, what we could recommend up to the SPC on E and D is that the Winnipeg Public Service be directed to report back with respect to any communications between the city of Winnipeg, the RM of Rosser, Centreport Canada, the province of Manitoba, respecting the need to expropriate a portion of Little Mountain Park for the purposes of extending Centreport Canada Way, and any participation in, from the Winnipeg Public Service in public consultations on the matter.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, as amended by Councillor Edie, all those in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. Item number 8, plan approval for 846 Burroughs Avenue. Do we want to do a summary from the administration? Sure, why not? Take it away.
Okay, thanks. The subject site is located on Burroughs Street in the Burroughs Central neighborhood of the Point Douglas ward. Pardon me. The site is a through lot on the south side of Burroughs with frontage on Magnus as well, west of Sinclair Street. The site's irregular in shape with, it's an interior lot that's approximately 350 feet wide along, sorry, bear with me. That piece of dust waited for my turn. Sorry.
It's okay.
Hey. Hey, it's not that I'm emotional.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's about 350 feet of frontage on Magnus and 160 feet on Burroughs. The applicant is requesting, this is plan approval for a fence. That they received approval for at Appeals Committee. It is 4 feet high along Burroughs and 7 feet high elsewhere on site. Chain link, and with some discussion, they've agreed to provide a vinyl coated black chain link fence on the street frontages.
Okay.
Just a better look and feel.
Better look than just.
I have a yes or no question.
Sure.
Did they win an appeal for a 10-foot high fence? Because we did not approve a 10-foot high fence
No.
here.
I was on that appeal when it happened.
Yeah, they went to appeal, so they were successful in their appeal of the public services position. So they're permitted up to 9 feet along the side yards and on Magnus and up to 4 feet along Burrows. But they're proposing 7 feet, which unfortunately is more expensive than 6 feet or 8 feet, but that's what is proposed.
I seen it, anyway, for me, it was, they were wanting 10 feet and I would have been good with 8 feet. Anyway, this,
Well, they wanted 10 feet plus barbed wiring.
well, plus fine, right, there you go.
They were dealing with obviously some challenges, social challenges in the neighborhood. And it was interesting because they front both Burrows and Magnus. Right, and they have a parking area off of Magnus, and then they have their little education or school, Sunday school in the church and in the hall. So committee had proposed 9 feet. Or I thought it was 7 feet and then 4 feet at the front, ornamental. But I think we asked for plan approval to come back to ensure that, wanted to know what their choosing of the fence was gonna be. So I think with the help of SEMI and the owners, they came up to a middle ground of a black coated wire mesh. So it didn't look too barbaric in a residential neighborhood.
To industrial.
Industrial.
Actually, I like the plan. I was just curious about what happened in the appeal. I didn't. Anyway, okay.
It's good. Councillor Edie, if you could move
I will
the
move,
public services
this-
recommendation to.
Yeah, I'll
approve the
move this,
plan.
plan approval recommended by public service.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's carried. Moving on to item number 9, which is our last item. Peter had sent us a new business motion by Councillor Sharma. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The motion's been circulated. Yeah. Motions with respect to the future recreation needs of Northwest Winnipeg and the importance of planning proactively for the continued growth that we're seeing in our communities in the Northwest. Northwest Winnipeg remains one of the fastest growing areas in our city. In fact, in between 2001, Madam Chair, and 2021, the Old Kildonan ward grew by approximately 44% or greater. And we're continuing to see that expected level of growth. There's major residential development plan through precincts D and B in the future. And that potential, the potential of those precincts, there could be thousands and thousands of new homes added to the Northwest over time, over 30,000 plus. And as elected officials, we have a responsibility to ensure long-term infrastructure planning keeps pace with population growth. So the motion recognizes that if a future regional recreational campus is to be considered for Northwest Winnipeg, securing a site becomes more challenging, we all know this, and costly as development proceeds. So it's good to get ahead of it. The intention of this motion aligns with the city's recreational strategy, which identifies the need for additional regional rec campuses to serve growing communities and meet our modern recreation needs. Also, I want to note that both the 2024 and 2025 Complete Communities Land Monitoring reports identify Precinct D as the preferred location for a future Northwest Regional Rec Campus. I want to emphasize today that this motion is not approving construction of a facility, it's just requesting the public service report back on land acquisition opportunities and that potential funding for land acquisition be considered through our next budget cycle. That would be the 2027 budget cycle. And the reality is, as I've said, we're growing. It's vital that we think about community infrastructure, Madam Chair. The infrastructure residents expect will be in place when these new neighborhoods develop. So I'm asking for your support to have this motion go up to the PP&D committee. I have spoken to the chair, Councillor Duncan, and prior to tabling it here. So I'd like it, if we can move this up, that would be great.
Any comments by Councillor?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to it. I don't know how close precinct D's secondary plan is to coming into fruition, but Until there's something that identifies higher use of land, the prices are cheaper. As soon as you got a secondary plan in there, you're gonna, any of that land is gonna go.
Well, you're exactly right, and that's why the timing is minimal.
Yeah.
Because that secondary plan's being worked on in parallel, they're not quite done.
Yes.
And we need to get ahead of things, otherwise the prices do go up.
Yeah.
And we need to be good stewards of the tax dollars that come our way. So it makes sense, the rec plan is calling for all of this, but this is formalizing what we should be doing.
I just want to confirm one thing. In the therefore be it resolved, it mentions
I can read it.
recreations there, but does that include the regional park?
No, that's a separate discussion. This is.
Oh, no, okay, so this is where the, yeah, okay.
Rec campus,
Yeah, I know.
essentially a
Yeah, I know.
community center for
And
the
you need
area.
20 acres for that.
That's right.
And then how many acres do you need for a regional
That
park?
was a separate motion we brought forward. That is 40 hectares. That was brought forward
40
last month, and
hectares,
that
yeah.
also went up. That's about 98 acres, I understand.
98 acres,
I
okay.
mean, it's give or take.
All right.
There's some that are
Yeah.
smaller, larger, right?
Yeah, I get
It's
it.
putting the discussion out on the table.
Okay.
So
Then
just follow that motion, you're right.
No, I'll support. This is about the future.
Thank you for that.
It is in competition with the Southeast and the chair person's trying to get one of those over in Charleswood, right? So anyway, just thought I'd mention that. So, all right, but I'm voting for this. Absolutely. We need something up here.
Thank you, appreciate it. Motion's on the floor, Madam Chair.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And it's carried unanimously. Right, Councilor Sharma, move adjournment at 2:30 PM. All
So
those in
moved.
favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Thank you.
All right.